What is the true cost of peace? Is it money, time, or is it pieces of yourself paid out over years until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize what's left?
And what happens when you finally send the bill? When you decide that the price is too high and someone else has to pay? Welcome to a story about a line in the sand, or rather, in a hotel door.
This is Karma Files. I'm Claire, your analyst.
And I'm Jax, your instigator. Today, we're opening case file 001, the story of Rick Halverson, a man who was very, very good at absorbing consequences, until he wasn't.
It's a story about a final straw, about the quiet, meticulous revenge of a man who stopped playing a game he never agreed to.
Buckle up. This one starts at 3:07 a.m.
Rick Halverson is on the 14th floor of a Honolulu hotel. It's supposed to be a vacation. Then his 28-year-old stepson, Evan, kicks the door in.
The physical breach is immediate, but the more important breach is relational. Rick's wife, Linda, steps into the splinters, and her first words aren't shock or apology. They're an instruction. Just give him what he wants.
Can you imagine? Your sanctuary is violated, and the person who's supposed to be your partner immediately sides with the invader. She whispers it like he's the problem.
Jax, let's pause on the psychology. Linda's reaction tells us everything about the dynamic. She's a peacekeeper, but a toxic one. Her peace is bought with Rick's compliance. Evan's outbursts are framed as having a hard time. Rick's boundaries are framed as being selfish.
It's emotional manipulation 101. And for a second, Rick freezes. Not because he's scared of Evan. He describes Evan as loud, not tough, but because the sound of that breaking door does something inside him. It wasn't just wood, it was a boundary, one he'd spent years trying to keep straight.
Evan demands the room with the king bed and the view. He's drunk, smelling of tequila and entitlement, and Linda, standing there in her robe, just says, "Don't make this worse."
He's making it worse. He kicked a door down. But here's the kicker. Rick's a claims adjuster, 30 years of reading fine print and assessing liability. So while they're yelling, his brain does what it's trained to do. It starts filming the scene.
Damage, liability, forced entry, security cameras, an incident report. He sees the future paperwork of this moment, and in that, he finds his leverage.
He doesn't yell, he doesn't fight. He walks to a drawer, pulls out a little black notebook, and he writes it down.
3:07 a.m. Evan kicked the door in, demanded room, Linda present.
This is his first act of rebellion. Not violence, but documentation. He's creating an independent record. Linda hates it. She can't steer his silence.
And then he gives in. He says fine, packs his bag, and leaves them in the room. Evan thinks he's won. Linda thinks Rick has finally behaved.
But he hasn't given in. He stepped out. As the elevator doors close, his wife's face is the last thing he sees, looking at him like he just embarrassed her.
Rick goes down to the lobby. It's 4 a.m. He approaches the night clerk, and he doesn't complain, doesn't get emotional. He makes a request.
He splits the folio. He removes his credit card authorization from the room, effective immediately. He formally transfers financial and legal responsibility for that room and the damaged door to Evan and Linda.
The clerk confirms, and damages? Rick says, that's correct. He signs the paper. It's clean, it's professional. It's a kill shot.
This is where Rick's revenge becomes architectural. It's not a heat-of-the-moment punch. It's the deliberate, careful removal of the structural support he's been providing. He's not causing the collapse. He's just stopping his work to prevent it.
Linda texts him, don't do anything stupid. He hasn't done anything yet, but she knows. She feels the ground shifting.
Rick flies home to Fort Wayne, goes straight to the bank, puts a hold on shared cards. The machine is in motion. Then, from his office, he emails the hotel's risk management department. He requests preservation of the security footage and a formal incident report.
And the report comes back. It's perfect. It states the facts. An unregistered individual, forced entry, vandalism, no provocation, no struggle, just cold, hard facts.
He puts it in a folder, labels it Hawaii. This is his evidence, his defense, and his weapon.
Then the calls start. The hotel tells Evan he's personally liable. Linda calls screaming, "What did you do?" Evan sends threatening texts. Then a legal threat arrives by email. a flimsy accusation of abandonment.
And Rick does the most powerful thing of all. Nothing. He doesn't engage, he doesn't retaliate. He forwards the email to his file. He writes in his notebook, 6:42 p.m., legal threat received. No response sent.
He's not hiding behind paperwork, Claire. He's building a fortress with it.
I agree. He's switching the battlefield from emotions, where he always loses, to facts and consequences, where he is an expert. It's a masterclass in tactical disengagement.
Back in Fort Wayne, the social fallout begins. Rick doesn't gossip, he just stops lying. When a friend from church asks about the trip, he hands him the incident report, says nothing. The friend reads it, hands it back, and says, "Sorry you had to deal with that."
The truth, once documented, walks on its own. The church discovers money meant for a youth retreat was borrowed for the Hawaii trip. Linda is implicated. The community's perception shifts.
They go to mediation. Evan shouts. Rick lays out his documents, one by one, like playing cards. Timeline, registration, incident report. Evan yells, "You always paid." And Rick finally says, "I stopped paying for your mistakes."
The mediator rules that Evan is fully responsible. Rick walks out. His final line is, "I think it makes me free."
The marriage ends, not with a bang, but with signatures on papers. Rick gets his peace. He even finds out he can retire years earlier, now that he's not funding constant chaos.
The revenge is complete. It wasn't violent, it wasn't loud, it was administrative and total. So, Jax, the Karma Files verdict. Rick Helverson, justified or did he go too far?
Justified. 1,000 times justified. This wasn't revenge, it was emancipation. For years, he was an ATM and a punching bag. All he did was close the account and walk away. He didn't sabotage them, he just stopped saving them from themselves. That's not petty, that's survival.
I see your point on the emotional front, but I have to analyze the cold strategy. He used his professional skills to engineer maximum financial and social consequences. He knew removing himself from the hotel booking would trigger a vandalism charge. He knew showing that report to the community would burn social bridges. This was a calculated, scorched earth policy.
So what? They scorched his earth first every day. The guy just built a firewall. Sometimes a calculated response is the only one people like that understand. If he'd yelled, they'd have tuned him out. By being cold and factual, he was unstoppable.
My concern is the completeness of the cutoff. Was there no room for any path back after the immediate crisis? By making it entirely procedural, did he avoid the harder work of a final direct confrontation that might have offered closure, if not reconciliation?
Claire, with all respect, that's the language of someone who's never been in a loop of abuse. Confrontation and closure are gifts you give to people who share your reality. Linda and Evan lived in a different one. The only language they understood was consequence. Rick finally spoke. He didn't go too far. He went exactly as far as he needed to go to be free.
A powerful case. The revenge of the quiet man. Not with a fist, but with a pen and a policy.
It leaves us with the core question. When does stopping the rescue become an act of war? And when is that war justified?
We want your verdict. You've heard our debate. Now you be the judge. Head to the comments right now. Type justified if you believe Rick was right to use the system to protect himself. Type too far if you think the financial and social consequences were overly destructive.
This debate starts with you. Tell us what you really think. Subscribe and hit the bell for more deep dives into the messy, moral puzzles of payback.
Because in every story of consequence, the most important verdict